part of the game. It's a rich thing.
Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Mark Peterson and today we'll be developing a simple basic body mass index calculating application, and we'll be also looking and implementing some interesting UI concepts as well. And when talking about the function, or what we can simply do is we can input the height and weight of a person, and by simply clicking on a button we can get the result of the BMI. Alright, so this person is on the healthy weight. So as you all can see, a message will be shown stating the body type and certain tips, and also an image of the specific body type will be shown as well. If the person is overweight or underweight, the background color will be changed into a red color schema. So let's check that. Let's say if the person is 90 kilograms. So that's what. So if the person is again somewhere around 50 kilograms and so on, this is for the underweight. Alright, now let's get started with developing the application. Okay, so first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete my homepage class, and I'll be deleting the comments as well and this as well. So first we'll create a screen called the BMI screen, and inside this let's create a stateful widget and name it as BMI screen. And let's import the material package as well. Okay, so as you all know, if we want to change the state of UI, we need to use a stateful widget, and there's a function called setState. Whenever we call that, the entire build method will be rebuilt again and the entire widget tree will be updated. So first what we are going to do is we are going to keep the container as it is, and we are going to give it a color so that we can see it much clearly. Alright, so the container will take a child and it will be a scaffold. In order to make the scaffold take this yellow color, we'll give its color as transparent. Background color will be colors.transparent. And now the scaffold will take an app bar, and the title will be a text widget, and we'll name it as body mass index, and we'll use the \n to go to the next line, calculator. Alright, that's fine. We can give some styling as well, and let's make sure it's a const because the values won't be changing in the future. What we can do now is we can align this to the center. Text align will be center, and now we want this text to come into the middle portion of the app bar. So what we can do is we can use the centile and assign it as true, and also we want the app bar to take yellow color in the container, so we'll make sure that background color is transparent as well. So I'll just copy paste this. Alright, and we want the elevation to be as 0. Alright, so the app bar is now done, and as the body property of the scaffold, we'll be taking another container. In order for the container to take the maximum height and width, let's just give it as height double infinity. Alright, that will do, and then assign width as well. Alright, that's just fine. Okay, so now we need all the widgets to align vertically in the screen. So what we can do is we can use this column. So we'll use the style property and give it a column. And this will take children, and this is array. So first two widgets we want to display are the text editing controllers. So we want them to display horizontally. So what we can do is we can take a row widget and take children, and we'll make sure the main axis alignment is given as space evenly. That's just fine. Okay, and now we'll make sure that the two text fields are also wrapped inside containers. So we'll take the container widget first, and we'll give the width as 145. That will do. This will take the child property, and then we'll assign the text field over here. Okay, that's just fine. Okay, now there's a property called the controller for listening the activities that's done inside the text field. Okay, so before assigning the control property, what we had to do is for taking the height and weight inputs, we need to create two variables of type TextEditingController. So we'll go up to here, the state, and we'll declare some variables. Okay, so the first variable will be a final TextEditingController, and we'll make sure that these variables are private as well. This is for the height controller, so I'll name it as like this. This will be assigned to TextEditingController. Okay, that's just fine. And now we need another one for the weight as well. So I'll just copy paste this and change as to weight. All right. And now we need another 3 variables to store the results. As you all know, we'll be displaying the BMI index, a text message, and an image. So for all 3 types, we need 3 variables. So first we'll create a double variable and name it as BMI result. Let's make sure they are private as well. And by default, let's give it as 0. And then we'll be taking a string variable and name it as text result. And by default, it will be null. And another string variable and name it as image result. By default, it will be null as well. Okay, now what we can do is we can head back to the text field and assign the controller. So whenever the user modifies a text field with an associated text editing controller, the text field updates the value and the controller notifies its listener. So then the listeners can read the text and learn what the user has typed or how the selection has been updated. So what we can do is now we'll assign the controller. This will be height controller. I'll define this entire container as height. Okay, that will do. So we'll make sure that this will be aligned to center as well. So the text align will be center. Now we can give some styling as well for the text field. Font size will be 40 and the font weight will be 400. And let's give it a color as well. I'll be using blue gray and let's give it a shade as well. Shade 800. Alright, that will do. Okay, so now by default, if we press on the text field, it will give us a keyboard with letters and numbers. But in this case, we only want the number pad. So we'll make sure the keyboard type will be specified for only getting the number pad. So it will be text input type dot number. Now what we can do is we can simply give it a decoration as well, because I'm planning to show some hint text inside the text field. This will be const because nothing will be changing. Input decoration. So the hint text will be height and we'll be taking it in meters. So we'll specify that as well. And the hint style will be again text style and we'll assign that. Okay, so that will do. Now let's create the next text field for the weight. So I'll just simply copy this entire 2 widgets and I'll just paste it over here. We'll just give it as 150 over here, and this will be weight controller. Everything else is fine, and we'll make sure this is weight as well, and we'll be taking the weight in kilograms. Okay, so now for performing the action we need a button, an elevated button or outline button. We can use anything, but we'll just use a GestureDetector in here and we'll take the tap function. So outside the row, we'll be again taking another widget called the GestureDetector, and this will contain function called onTap function. It will specify what will happen when the button is pressed. Okay, so now we have to declare some variables to hold the value of the controllers. For that, what we can do is we'll be declaring some variables here. So the first one will be for the height. It will be of type double, and we'll just name it as height. We can pass them here itself, so we'll use double dot pass, and then it comes from the height controller text. Yeah, that's just fine. And we'll create another one for the weight as well. This will be weight. This will be coming from the weight controller. All right, and now we'll be using the setState function. As I mentioned before, every time the setState gets called, the entire build method will be rebuilt and the entire widget tree will be rebuilt again. So first off, we'll just write the logic for the calculation. So as you all know, we declared a variable called the BMI result. We want the logic, the calculation, to be assigned to the BMI result and store the value inside the result itself. So we'll be first taking the BMI result variable that we have declared above, and now we'll store the calculation inside this. So it's a simple calculation. You can get this from the internet. It will be weight divided by the square root of height. Okay, and now what we can do is we can assign the conditions. Okay, so as you all know, there are 3 different body types according to the BMI index that a person can fall. So we should declare 3 different conditions here. So the first condition is if the BMI result is greater than 25, then we want the text result saying that the person is overweight or something like just like that. So we'll assign it and it will take a string. We'll just say that you are overweight, and we'll be using the \n as well to move to the next line. Alright, so now I have named the metabolic type of that overweight person, and we have given some tips. Okay, so now we'll be declaring the other variable, the image result. So this will actually contain image name. So what we need to do first is we'll just create a folder called assets, because the images will be coming from the assets folder only, and we'll add 3 images over here according to different body types. Okay, so now I have entered 3 body types over here. Now what we can do is we should define them in the pubspec.yml file. So I'll be defining the entire folder right over here. That will do. So we'll head back to the BMI screen, and now if the person is overweight and the image for that is this, I'll copy the name and paste it over there, and PNG. This comes from the assets folder, so we'll make sure that the route is being defined as well, assets. Alright, now the first condition is done. So the next condition is else if the person's BMI result is greater than or equal to 18.5, and if the BMI result is smaller or equal to 25, then this person will fall into the healthy weight category. So the text result will be stating that this person is healthy. Okay, that will do. And the image result will be the image for the healthy weight person. I'll copy paste that as well. Alright, now that's done as well. And the next condition, actually we don't have to give a condition, it's just in all the other cases the person will fall into the underweight category. So I'll just copy these two, paste it over here, and then just change the string as your underweight. Okay, so we have declared some tips as well, and the image for the underweight will be ectomorphous, so we'll copy that and paste it over here. It should be assets.png. Yes, we should declare this as assets as well. Alright, now everything is fine. Okay, now we are done with the 3 conditions, and now what we can do is style and design the button. And for that we'll come out of the onTap function, and the GestureDetector will also take a child container, and we'll give the decoration as a box decoration. We'll give it a color as well, color, and we'll give some opacity with opacity as 0.2 will be fine, and we'll give this border radius as well. Border radius will be dot circular, and we'll give it as 20. That's just fine. Now what we can do is let's just make sure that the text is aligned to center as well. Okay, so the container can take a child property, and we'll give it a text widget, and we'll actually tell that the person to click the button in order to generate the BMI. So the text will be, we'll just give it as calculate body mass index. Since the values won't be changing, we'll assign it as const, and we'll give it styling as well, a text style. Okay, so that will do. Now we are done with the GestureDetector as well, and now what we should do is actually display the results. Okay, so first what we are planning to display is the BMI index result. It's actually the BMI index itself, so we can use a text widget for that, and we can pass the actual BMI result variable, and then what we can do is we can alter it to only contain any amount of decimal points. We'll give it as 4, or else let's give it as 2. That's just fine. We'll give it some styling as well. Okay, now we are done with displaying the actual BMI index as well. At the beginning this will be 0, because as you all know, by default we have mentioned it as 0, but whenever the value holds, it will be displayed as that particular value. Okay, so now what we should do is we should actually display the text or the tips that we are going to give that person according to their body type. We should fulfill the condition in this case. We want to make sure if the BMI text variable does not contain any value, then this widget won't be shown at all. But if this variable contains some value or if it holds some value, then only we should display that specific widget. So there's a special type of a widget called the visibility widget. We can use that for that, and this will take a child as well. So what we are displaying is a text, so we'll be taking a text widget. Okay, before defining the text, I want to declare another property called the visible property. Okay, so by default the visible property controls whether the child is included in the subtree or not. If it's not visible, the actual widget will be taken by a zero size box. So we need to fulfill the condition and make sure the widget will be only shown if the BMI text result is not empty. So we are using the visible property over here. It is text result should be not null, is not empty. Yeah, we can use that. And now let's just define the text we want to pass. It's the text result, and we can give some styling as well now. Okay, so now we are done with displaying the text result as well. Everything is fine. Before moving on, we'll just make sure that this is centered as well. So the text align will be centered. Okay, so now we have displayed the BMI result, the text result, and now what's left is to display the BMI image of that specific category. Yeah, we'll just use another visibility widget for that as well. And for its child, it will take an image asset. We'll name it as image to take an image and asset image. Okay, so let's declare it as image result. Okay, that's just fine. And we should fulfill the condition where the image result is not null, then only this visibility widget will be shown. Image result will be not null, is not empty. Okay, so now we are done with the visibility widget that we are using to display the image as well. Okay, now we are pretty much done with the application. We'll just head back to the main dot and assign the BMI screen to the home page, and we remove the debug banner as well. And now let's run the application and see the output. Okay, so now our application has been built. The first thing I see is that we can make some changes to improve the UI. So we'll just head back to the BMI screen, and sorry guys, I have made a small mistake. This should be PNG. Okay, now let's just head back to GestureDetector widget. Okay, so in order to make the button a bit smaller from the sides, what we can actually do is give some margin, and edge insets will be symmetric. So horizontally we'll give it as somewhere around 20, or maybe a bit more. Let's give it as 50, and vertically we'll give somewhere around 10, and we can give some padding as well. Edge insets.all, we'll give it as 10. Yes, that will do, and this will be a const. And another thing I want to change is I don't like this blue gray color, so we can actually head back to the main dot and make the primary color as deep purple, or else we can change it in the BMI screen as well. Okay, now let's just check whether this application fulfills all the three conditions. So if the person is 1.8 and the weight is somewhere around 60 kilograms, let's check the state. Yes, the person is healthy weight. So if the person is 1 meter and somewhere around 90, let's check. Yes, the person is overweight. And now we see something wrong here. It's because the pixels are overflowing. What we can simply do to overcome the matter is give a scrollable widget and make this entire column scrollable. So we'll head back to the column and we'll wrap it with a widget called single child scroll wheel. Single child, there it is. Yes, now it's gone. But additionally, what I want to do is I want to give it a bouncing effect. So we can take the physics property from that and bouncing scroll physics, and we should mention the parent as well. And to make it always scrollable, let's just give it as always scrollable scroll physics, and this will be a const. Alright, so that will solve our problem. Just now you can see the bouncing effect as well. Everything is fine, they're fulfilling the condition. And now let's move on to the next part. where we want the background color to change if the person is overweight or underweight. Okay, so first what I want to do is I want to declare another variable. Actually, it's a boolean variable called, let's name it as color click. And by default, this will be true. All right. Now let's just head back to the conditions. So by default, the color click will be true. So by default, we want to show a yellow color schema. But if the person is overweight, we want to show a red color schema only. So what we can simply do is we can take the color click property and assign it as false. All right. So this is the opposite of what we have mentioned by default. Again, I'll copy and paste it over here for the next condition. And in this case, if the person is healthy weight, we want to show the yellow color itself, which is the default color. So it will be true. All right. And also if the person is underweight, we want to again show the red color schema. So I'll let it be as false. So now actually let's head back to the first container and define the color schema using a box decoration. So I'll comment this out, or else I'll just take this out because we don't need it anymore. Yes, you can see the color is being gone. Okay, so we can use the property called decoration, and this will be taking a box decoration. What we are going to do is you're going to implement a linear gradient. So there's a property called gradient that comes from the box decoration, and it will take a linear gradient. All right. So as you all can see, it will be giving us a colors property. But then we'll take that off for now because first I want to define some positioning. So there are another two properties that we can assess called begin and end. So at the beginning, we'll assign the begin point as alignment dot bottom right, and we'll define the end point. Now we should define the stops as well. So the stops will be const because nothing will be changed. And this will take an array, so we'll just keep on defining some stops as we want. So 0.2, 0.32, let's take 0.6, let's take 0.75, 0.85, 0.92. Yeah, that will be fine. Now we can assess the colors property. Actually, now inside the colors property, what we should do is we should fulfill the condition. That's the first thing we should do. Let's just take off the array and give the condition here. Okay, so by default, we know the color click will be true. What we should first do is, if the color click is false, we want to give the red color schema. So we'll be using the ternary operator here. It will take an array, or else if the color click is true, we want to define the yellow color. All right, now let's just declare the color schema. So colors dot white, colors dot red, and we can use a shade as well. Let's say shade as 50, and we'll keep some shades like just like that. All right. Okay, so the red color schema has been completed. Let's just take this and copy paste it over here, and now we want to give some shades of yellow color. We'll just use the amber color because it's much more better. Okay, now I have done a small mistake. This should be top left. All right, now y'all can see the gradient. The bottom right is taking a white color, and the top left is taking the shade 800. Okay, so that's it. That's everything done. Let's just check the conditions and see whether the app is full functioning for the final time. So if the person is 1.5 meters in height and 30 kilograms in weight, let's check the condition. That person is underweight. And if the person is 50 kilograms in weight, yes, that person falls into the healthy weight category. And also if the person is somewhere around 80 kilograms, then the person falls into the overweight category. As you all can see, the background color changes accordingly. Alright, so thank you for following up. If you find this video interesting and helpful, please leave a like. So thank you, take care.